When our children act out and misbehave, it is a normal reactive response for a parent to want to stop it. Now, because of our childhood, punishment is a common response, yet we know it's not effective. If punishment worked, no one would be buying parenting books or attending classes. So what are we parents supposed to do instead? Well, let me now offer some insight into why punishment doesn't work and what you can begin doing right away instead. When our children act out and misbehave, one of the things that usually happens is it kind of triggers old stuff inside of us. A couple of things. We need our children's cooperation so much today because the world is moving so fast that when we don't get our children's cooperation, it makes us angry, and anger is a normal response from parents. Another thing that happens is we think we need to control and stop it right away. Well, you see, I want to talk about something different than punishment because punishment doesn't work. Instead, we should be using consequences. And I want to examine the difference between the two because when I help you understand the difference between the two, you're more likely as a parent to be able to apply consequences effectively instead of punishment. First of all, there's two big problems with punishment. Punishment doesn't work unless it is applied on a regular basis all the time, then it can actually change behavior. But the more important thing that's wrong with punishment, it's not kind, it's not respectful, and it's not loving. It's something that we strive for in our families. So I'm on this campaign to try to get parents to understand that we need to remove punishment from the discipline toolbox and instead replace it with consequences. You know, there's a lot of behaviors that don't even require punishment or consequences. There's other things we can do. And if you watch other episodes of the show, you'll get some insight of what they are. But again, if you truly think you need to do something immediately about this behavior, I'm telling you that punishment doesn't work. We need to remove that tool from our toolbox. And it's important for us who work with parents who are parents to understand there's other things that we can do. So I want to talk about something called natural consequences. Natural consequences can actually become more effective. When we use a natural consequence, we actually don't do anything. We allow the impact of the child's behavior to do the speaking for them. So for example, when one of my children was growing up and she was really small and she was very bossy. And there's nothing I can do about her being bossy in the moment, but what I had to allow to have happen was the impact of her being bossy was that what? Nobody wanted to play with her. So sometimes we need to allow natural consequences to take place. One of my children decided that when she was around 10 or 11, she didn't want to use deodorant. Well, as parents, we know we want our kids to be clean and to smell good. We had to let go, and the peers took care of that. The natural consequence when people told her that she didn't smell good, well, that took over and was far more powerful. The only problem with natural consequences, there's some situations where you don't want to use them. For example, if it's too far in the future, like you say to your child, okay, fine, you want to brush your teeth? You wait to see the cavities you get. That's too far down the road, so we can't do that. The other thing is if it could injure or harm the child. So we say, oh, well, you want to play in the road? Fine, let's see if you get hit by a car. Obviously, we can't do that. Another situation is if it doesn't bother the child. If it clearly doesn't bother the child at all, then it's not going to work. Then the last one is if what the child's doing is infringing upon someone's rights. You cannot allow a child to step on someone's rights. So if that's the case, we need to go to the next thing, which is called logical consequences. Logical consequences are far more effective than punishment because it sets things up in advance. And the best thing you can do is you always set up a logical consequence before it actually starts or before it's taking place, so the child clearly has a choice. For example, a little girl wanted to go down the driveway near the road, and the parents drew a line, a chalk line over the driveway and said, this is as far as you can go. And if you go over the line, you'll lose your bicycle for the rest of the day. And the little girl could now make that choice. Do I want to step over the line and lose my bike? Well, children, it's very normal for them to test parents' boundaries. And that's what she did. She rolled over the line and lost her bike for the rest of the day. Now, she was pretty upset about that, but she learned so much. Logical consequences learn or teach children incredible messages. are a couple of conditions, though. A logical consequence must meet 3 conditions. The first one is, the first 3, it must be respectful, related, and reasonable with the child. So, for example, the first thing, it's got to be respectful. You can't do anything that makes the child feel less than, or smaller than, or disrespected. So you must make sure that what you choose to use helps to build the child up and to help them realize that I'm being respected. And when that happens, they're more likely to get the message that you're trying to send. Now, the last 2 conditions you must meet with a logical consequence, it must teach a child responsibility, and it must build the relationship of the parent and the child. So notice, one of the things that usually happens is I'll get somebody who'll say, oh yeah? Well, how come if I speed on the road, I get a punishment and I get a speeding ticket, and if I do any worse, I might go to jail? You know what I say to that parent? You're an adult. A child is not yet fully grown. They are a child. They are who they're supposed to be. So children will test boundaries because that's how they learn. So we must give them that opportunity to know that if I choose to do this, then this may happen. So to parents who compare us adults getting punished, you can't compare that to a child. If you walk away with one thing from this issue, I hope that you will remove punishment from your discipline toolbox and instead replace it with logical consequences. The next time your child misbehaves and all else has failed, a consequence may do the trick. So sit down with your child when both of you are calm and come to an agreement as to what will happen the next time that misbehavior reoccurs. See, handling it in a calm and respectful manner will help the child feel respected and may lead to you getting the cooperation you're really looking for. Coming up after the break, we're going to meet a grandmother who wrote a children's book with a unique message to all children. Stay with us. We'll be right back.